Hey everyone, we finally got a former CBC insider who has left that organization and is willing to speak freely and openly about the culture of that particular corporation. And yeah, it's as bad as you thought. Headline from Tara Henley on Substack, speaking freely. Why I resigned from the Canadian Broadcast Corporation. Tara Henley, January 3rd. For months now, I've been getting complaints about the Canadian Broadcast Corporation, where I've worked as a TV and radio producer and occasional on air columnist for much of the past decade. People want to know why, for example, non binary Filipinos concerned about a lack of LGBT terms in Tagalog is an editorial priority for the CBC when local issues of broad concern go unreported, or why our pop culture radio show's coverage of the Dave Chappelle Netflix special failed to include any of the legions of fans or comics that did not find it offensive, or why exactly taxpayers should be funding articles that scold Canadians for using words such as brainstorm and lame. Everyone asks the same thing: what is going on at the CBC? When I started at the National Public Broadcaster in 2013, the network produced some of the best journalism in the country. By the time I resigned last month, it embodied some of the worst trends in mainstream media. In a short period of time, the CBC went from being a trusted source of news to churning out clickbait that reads like a parody of the student press. Those of us on the inside know just how swiftly and how dramatically the politics of the public broadcaster has shifted. It used to be that I was the one furthest to the left in any newsroom, occasionally causing strain in story meetings with my views on issues like the housing crisis. I am now easily the most conservative, frequently sparking tension by questioning identity politics. This happened in the span of about 18 months. My own politics did not change. To work at the CBC in the current climate is to embrace cognitive dissonance and to abandon journalistic integrity. Oh, it's so nice to have what I've been stressing and pointing out for years now verified by a CBC insider. Oh, it's a good feeling, folks. It is to sign on enthusiastically to a radical political agenda that originated on Ivy League campuses in the United States and spread through America's social media platforms that monetize outrage and stoke societal divisions. It is to pretend that the woke worldview is near universal, even if it is far from popular with those you know and speak to and interview and read. To work at the CBC now is to accept the idea that race is the most significant thing about a person, and that some races are more relevant to the public conversation than others. It is, in my newsroom, to fill out racial profile forms for every guest you book, to actively book more people of some races and less of others. To work at the CBC is to submit to job interviews that are not about qualifications or experience, but instead demand the parroting of orthodoxies, the demonstration of fealty to dogma. Statism truly is a religion, folks. It is to become less adversarial to government and corporations and more hostile to ordinary people with ideas that Twitter doesn't like. It is to endlessly document microaggressions but pay little attention to evictions, to spotlight companies' political platitudes but have little interest in wages or working conditions. It is to allow sweeping societal changes like lockdowns, vaccine mandates, and school closures to roll out with little debate. To see billionaires amass extraordinary wealth and bureaucrats amass enormous power with little scrutiny. And to watch the most vulnerable among us die of drug overdoses with little comment. It is to consent to the idea that a growing list of subjects are off the table, that dialogue itself can be harmful, that the big issues of our time are all already settled. It is to capitulate to certainty, to shut down critical thinking, to stamp out curiosity, to keep one's mouth shut, to not ask questions, to not rock the boat. This while the world burns. How could journalism possibly be done under such conditions? How could any of this possibly be healthy for society? All this raises larger questions about the direction that North America is headed. Questions about this new moment we are living through and its impact on the body politic, on class divisions and economic inequality, on education, on mental health, on literature and comedy, on science, on liberalism and democracy. These questions keep me up at night. I can no longer push them down. I will no longer hold them back. This Substack is an attempt to find some answers. I have been a journalist for 20 years covering everything from hip-hop to news, food to current affairs. The through line has always been books, which I've engaged with at every stage of my career and at every outlet I've worked for. In 2020, I published my own book, Lean Out, a meditation on the madness of modern life, which was an instant bestseller in Canada. Books have always opened new worlds for me, introduced me to new perspectives, and helped me to make sense of humanity. I need books now more than ever. During lockdown, when I wasn't covering COVID-19, I spent a lot of time interviewing authors for a new book I'm working on. Their boldness and insight and humor saved me from despair. These writers gave me ideas on how to move forward and how to maintain hope. Most of all, they gave me the courage to stand up and to speak out. Here at Substack, I will continue the work of thinking through the current moment, focusing on nonfiction writing from around the world. I will post an essay on a books-related topic every Monday and a podcast conversation with a heterodox author every Wednesday. This will be free for all. A third post on Friday will round up the most contrarian, controversial, or overlooked new books and essays and will be available to paid subscribers. This work is entirely independent, entirely free from editorial control, allowing me to say the things that are not being said and ask the questions that are not being asked. Lean Out is solely supported by subscribers. If you care about the world of ideas and value open inquiry, as I do, please consider a paid subscription. And stay tuned for the first episode of Lean Out Podcast this Wednesday, featuring my conversation with Newsweek's Batya Ungar Sargon, author of Bad News, How Woke Media is Undermining Democracy. So there you have it, folks. Like I say, the things that this woman listed off that she noticed at CBC. I mean, these are all things that we've highly suspected for a long time. And it's just, like I say, it's just great to have a CBC insider come out and actually verify and validate what people like myself have been saying for so long now. Canadians really, really need to try to break free out of their echo chambers. And I don't care. I'm talking left or right, but in reality in Canada, let's just talk about right now what's perceived at least as the political left, right? Or people who like to identify themselves on the political left. Because it is the left that seems to have the biggest problem these days. The right, trust me, their time will come, no doubt, right? Because that's the thing with politics, that left versus right, to me, it's the wrong way to look at things entirely. To me, it should be authoritarianism versus libertarianism. Those who care about freedom and those who want to take it away, right? Left versus right. I mean, it's a strange way to look at things because both sides have their niches, have their preferences, and will try to stifle or squash anyone who opposes them or their ideology or how they want society run. It's control freaks versus those who have a live, let live mentality. Anyways, folks, it's great to be able to get the entirety of this article out and in video form because, like I say, this was great stuff. And it's good to have it all recorded and documented so that we can reference it and use it as a source going forward. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.